Hope everyone's day is going well. All right, just making sure all of our technology is working. It seems to be working. Yay. Hope everyone. Okay, so I'm Jenny Ponzuric, and I am hanging out with you today to do a quick live here to talk about manifestation determination. Such a fun topic in our wonderful field of school psychology. For anyone who doesn't know me, my background is in the wonderful world of school psychology. Been part of this field for over 20 years, and I am the founder of the Prepared School Psych Community, and I also host, this is going to be the 4th year in a row, a summer boot camp for school psychologists where we provide sessions every day, little professional development sessions on a variety of different topics. So I just wanted to do a little quick check-in here. It's the end of the school year. For many of you, might have actually been done weeks ago. Some of you are just finishing things up. Different school districts get out at different times of the year. And I know I've talked to many a school psychologist who are working ESY. So they're still working. So just wanted to talk for a quick moment about manifestation determinations. I love the end of the year. I love a good reflection. I love really acknowledging, like, counting things up, right? So how many evaluations did we get done? How many MDs did we do, right? And then are we noticing, that's one of my favorite, are we noticing anything regarding patterns, right? So early on in my career, I mainly worked at the elementary level, and I have to admit, I didn't do a lot of manifestation determinations, K through 5. But I remember when I did have to do them, because there were so few and far between, I was always in that moment of like, am I doing this right? And of course, it was like some super complex task, or some super complex case, I don't know the last time a manifestation determination was pretty straightforward. So just wanted to throw in a couple of thoughts here around this interesting topic about manifestation determinations here. So definitely in my world where I get to do a lot of different trainings and support for school psychologists, I practice in Southern California. I get to travel all over the state of California and talk about topics that are interesting to school psychologists, whether it's talking about learning disabilities or report writing or English learners. And one of the things that we're always talking about is, what are we noticing over the last couple of years? And, even a couple of years after COVID-related building closures, a lot of school psychologists are still noticing an increase in behavior concerns in comparison to pre-COVID years. And so, of course, that is impacting both general education and special education. And we're always kind of noticing a little bit more when it applies to our special education students. I don't know about all of you. I find it so interesting to go to like legal workshops around manifestation determinations. Like, they fascinate me, but they also make me really nervous because they talk about, who these manifestation determinations might apply to, outside of just our students who have that IEP that's signed, right? Of course, we know it can apply to our students with 504 plans. It can apply for students who are in the assessment process, right? And depending on what legal workshop you go to, sometimes they even talk about gen ed kids who are like in the pre-referral process, that this could possibly apply to them as well. So if you've never had those discussions in your school district, I would definitely encourage, as I love to say, put that on the agenda for the fall staff meeting, right? Because we're seeing so many more behavioral concerns in our students. And therefore, the likelihood that we might be having to do manifestation determinations, may be something that we are seeing. Now, I know a lot of school psychologists have really amazing relationships with their case managers and with admin to make sure that everyone's on the same page. If we start slowly seeing, referral numbers or suspension numbers increase for any of our IEP kids, any of our 504 kids, any of our students, if we're seeing a huge pattern in these suspensions, the school psychologists typically need to be in the loop. Now, someone once asked me about manifestation determinations and asked whether or not the law stated that a school psychologist had to be involved. So I practice in California, and I have never seen anything written down for our state that they have to be involved. However, school psychologists are usually the person on the IEP team that has the most knowledge about eligibility, how the student was found to be eligible, and really understanding the connection between behaviors and disabilities and all of those connections. So typically school psychologists are involved in this process here. And so we are having a lot of these increase in behavioral concerns, but in general, manifestation determinations can be pretty tricky, right? Determining whether or not it's a manifestation of their disability. That can open up a lot of different questions, right? Always wanting to know, how many steps were involved in the kid making this decision, right? How pre-planned was this versus something that was super impulsive versus they started talking about it at 8 o'clock in the morning and at 2:30 in the afternoon is when we actually saw the behavior, right? So many different things we have to take into consideration, especially when we're working with students who are also having substance abuse issues. How much is that involved in their disability as well? And we have so many students, unfortunately, who have so many more mental health concerns. And so always taking all of this into consideration. And then something that I know can be frustrating sometimes to our administrators as well is, the other caveat when we talk about manifestation determinations, not only is a manifestation of their disability, but did our school district actually follow the IEP, right? In relationship to what's going on with this student, was there anything that we were supposed to be doing that we were not doing? And I know of a number of cases, I'm just flooding my brain right now, of instances where, for instance, no one knew the child had a 504 plan. Obviously, that wasn't being implemented, right? Did we not notice that the student was supposed to have counseling? All of those interesting things that can be so frustrating for the entire team. A lot of times when school psychologists are going into that meeting to lead that discussion, it's kind of like someone's possibly going to be angry at you, right? Admin might be angry if you try and say like, this is a manifestation, or, we didn't do our job correctly or something like that. Parents can be very upset if we're going to move forward with discipline procedures. There's a lot of emotions that go on in regards to manifestation determinations most of the time. And school psychologists are just trying to stay in the middle there and just try and provide evidence and documentation and walk the team through all of the different pieces of this process here. But that's definitely one of those things that when we have our admin and our case managers keeping in that good communication with us about any sort of suspensions or any sort of behavioral concerns that are kind of trickling up, that we're immediately making sure that their IEP or 504 plan is being implemented as it's supposed to be, right? So that's those moments, even those first couple of, or that first suspension, that could be that moment that we're like, is there anything on this document anywhere that we're supposed to be doing that we for some reason are not doing? And IEP documents are so interesting because there's so many places where it could possibly be. And I know all IEP documents look a little bit different, but it's like, is it possibly written where all the services are? Is it possibly written in the notes? Is it possibly written when we talked about FAPE, right? So there's all these different places that we want to make sure that we are triple checking that document, right? And we're making sure nothing is missing there. And then, as I mentioned too, a lot of our situations are really complex, right? Every once in a while we have simple, this happened, It seems really a simple yes or a simple no to some of our questions. But a lot of our situations are really complex. And unfortunately, there's such a tight timeline to follow through on these manifestation determinations. We just want to make sure we're asking all the right questions, we're gathering all the right information. And again, sometimes that can be difficult to do because we have a lot of high emotions and maybe not everyone wants to talk to us right away. But we want to make sure we're super clear about all of the different pieces that are kind of contributing to the situation here. And so because of all these things, and as I mentioned, I don't do these very frequently. I consult on a lot of these and kind of walk through some teams with some questions and give some feedback on some manifestation determinations. But one of the things I always like, are we missing anything? Is there anything else we should be thinking about, right? And so one of the things that we are going to be providing this summer in our summer boot camp is we have a session specifically on manifestation determinations when substance abuse is involved. So I wanted us to have an example of something where it wasn't just a general manifestation determination conversation. And I'm not saying we're not going to cover some of those pieces, but our presenter is also going to dig a little bit deeper when we have this added layer of complexity on there with something like a substance abuse issue. That's also part of the conversation. You know, how do we make sure that, again, we're asking all the right questions, we're gathering all the right information so that we can make an appropriate determination at the meeting. So we are having a session all about this. I am so excited. When I thought about this as a possible topic and I reached out to my go-to person on all things like behavior and social emotional learning. And I was like, what about this topic? And he immediately said yes. So I'm so excited. That's going to be part of our summer boot camp. If you have not been checking out the summer boot camp information, you can go to my website, just right above my picture here, and you can find out all of the details. There's a summer boot camp button right there on the front page. You can see all of the different information, about the different sessions. So we are running summer boot camp July 10th through the 21st. We're doing one session per day. So it'll be 10 sessions in total, and people can sign up to either do 5 sessions, a different 5 sessions, or all 10 sessions. And we're just doing like group 1 every other day, group 2 every other day. And then of course, if you want to sign up for both of them, you have the possibility of either joining us live for a session every single day or catching the replays, because we're going to be recording everything. I'm well aware that some people, July 10th through the 21st, that, you know, you might actually be on summer break and you might not want to be hanging out in front of your laptop. I understand those things. So we wanted to provide an opportunity for school psychologists to get some PD if this is something that works for them. I know a lot of you are really busy during the school year to be able to take time away from your busy schedule to attend professional development. So that's one of the reasons why we opened this up for July. Also gives a lot of students and a lot of people who are going into their first year as a school psychologist, or maybe, you know, going to work for a new school district, also have the opportunity to kind of work through some of that stress that happens and check out some different sessions and see that'll make you feel just a little bit more confident walking in. All of our sessions start at 10 o'clock in the morning, Pacific Standard Time, and they're running only about 90 minutes to 2 hours. And we want to make sure that within that time frame that our presenters are providing Q&A opportunities so that for each of our sessions, people are able to ask those questions and we're not just doing content right up to, you know, the ending bell, which for everyone who has seen me present is going to be a stretch for me because I usually am right there at the end. So I am definitely being conscientious as I'm creating the content for my sessions as well to make sure that I am allowing time for Q&A. So again, if you are interested, go over to my website, check out the information. If you have any questions about summer boot camp after you've read through the information, feel free, and however you're watching this, you can post a question. You can DM me, you can post a question down below the videos. You can go to our website and ask questions there too. All right. So thank you all for hanging out live or watching the replay, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their day, and I will see you all soon. Bye, everyone.